Hello YouTube and welcome to another video. Today we're here in Tampere for Tracon and I'm an AMV judge this year. This is my first time judging an AMV competition and I'm very excited, and I'm gonna show you some of the stuff that I got as an AMV judge. But also, this hotel is actually where 13 years ago I did a photo shoot, and the photos of which I use as my profile picture everywhere, including YouTube. So I wanted to try and recreate these photos as well. But I'm super excited for the Tracon weekend. Today I was cosplaying Bloom, tomorrow I'll be Mission, and maybe on Sunday as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing all the Winx Club cosplayers and showing you the Winx Club cosplayers that I did see and showing you the convention. So I got to the event and wanted to get my ticket, badge and swag, but before that, in the free outside area where everyone could attend, I saw some Winx cosplayers. A friend of mine was cosplaying Dark Bloom, and we also met these Musa and Tekna cosplayers who looked amazing, and we decided to take a photo together. Then I got my ticket and my swag, which I'll show you later, and we made it over to the artist alley. Tracon is one of the better known conventions in Finland, one of the more sought after and famous ones, so obviously the artist alley is very high in quality, and the artist alley actually goes through several floors. So this is the first floor one, but there's a second floor one as well that I'll go to later. This time the flea market at Tracon also had reservations for both Friday and Saturday, and I managed to get reservations for Friday at 7, but I still had to stand in line for about a half an hour, so I was really worried what it's gonna be like on Sunday when there's no reservation. So I stood in line for a bit and made it to the flea market. Obviously flea markets can be a gold mine, and this was one of those. I was really positively surprised by how much stuff there was that I was interested in, because usually I don't see that much stuff that I would want. But this flea market had loads of cute dolls. Here's one. She got bought up super fast while I was thinking, but they had loads of fashion dolls as well, which is not common, or at least not super common for anime and role-playing conventions, but they had loads of Monster High Generation 1 dolls in really good quality as well. I assume because these had been given up by other collectors who wanted to sell parts of their collection, so the condition was much better than what you'd see, for example, at a second-hand shop. And the Monster High doll prices were actually all reasonable as well. They were around 15 or 20 euros, which I think for a doll that has all of their clothes and shoes is actually very reasonable nowadays, because I've seen the prices online and some of them are crazy. Maybe I should do a video on Monster High prices. There was also this Adriana Grest in a ladybug costume figure that was only 3 euros, and there was a surprising amount of Miraculous stuff in general. I do love Miraculous. There was nothing that I would have really wanted. There was also loads of fashion, which I did expect, but I was still pleasantly surprised. And there were also these Tinkerbell DVDs. They were 2 euros each, and I don't actually have the Pirate Fairy movie or the Fawn Never Beast movie, so I was considering them. I do love the finished dub. It's the best one because Tinkerbell is called Helena. But here you can see the Lolita that they had. Obviously I was drawn to the Angelic Pretty dresses and had a look at those, and the selection was actually pretty good, but I would say that it was even a little bit better when I visited again on Sunday. Then I found these Mattel Pixie Magic minifigures, and I was so torn. They were 30 euros, and as you can see, Locket's hair was missing, and I felt like paying 28 euros or practically 30 euros for 3 little figures was just way too much, but I was so torn. I ended up not getting them, and it was the right choice, but still I was so torn. Then I ran into some more Winx cosplayers. Friday was a great day for Winx cosplayers. There was Stella, another Dark Bloom, this one is a different Dark Bloom, and Roxy, and I was so pleasantly surprised, and we had a little chat. Then I went and listened to a lecture about the ethics of dating doves, I suppose. It's that famous dating game which started out as a joke, and it was actually really good. I knew nothing about the game aside from just having seen it, But I was actually surprised to find that the world of the game is so surprisingly deep and there is such a deep story. I did actually feel like I would like to play it as well now. But with that lecture, my first day ended, and now I'm going to show you the merch I got as an AMV judge. This is my AMV judge pin. It has my YouTuber name and my real name underneath as well. I really love the color. And here it says Tracon on the bottom. And I wanted to show the program as well. I really love the gold foiling. Here are the Saturday's AMV contest judges, and here's me as well. So I wanted to show the blouse I got from Tracon as part of my merch, and I figured the best way to show it would be to wear it. I really love the color, actually. It matches my hair super well as well. So there's a list of the things that they need to do for the party. This was Tracon's 20th. So on the bottom it says to party. It's the last checkbox. There's nothing in the back, it's just like plain burgundy. Actually love this burgundy color, love how the shirt fits, love the feel of the fabric. The print is a little bit of that, that sort of rubbery print that sometimes printed on t-shirts have. But I really like the way it looks. At first I was like, do I really need a t-shirt? Because you could pick whether or not you wanted it or not. So I was like unsure if I really needed one. But I'm super glad that I got it. And I also got this water bottle, which I used throughout the convention and was actually really useful. They had free water fountains and I didn't want to use these little cups all the time because this is much better for nature. And this is also like celebrating Tracon. This year's Tracon's theme was 1,000 stories, and that was also the case in the AMV competition, where the category prizes were all like storytelling prizes. So it says Tracon Force of 1,000 stories, and it has the little mascots and swords. So yeah, I forgot to show these parts of the merch and I wanted to show them. Saturday for me started before the convention opened. At 9 we had rehearsals for the AMV competition. And I was so pleasantly surprised by the AMV room having railing at the stairs that took up to the stage. I know it looks like it's a little bit in the way, but I was still so impressed by it. Now we all had to get on stage and read out the winners, and we had to read out these little cards that said what we enjoyed about each video and why we think they're worth this category prize and obviously the main prize. And I realized that I had never read Finnish out aloud. I have read a lot in Finnish and I have spoken a lot in Finnish, but I have never read out aloud. And now I'm doing this to an audience of more than 1,000 people. I messed up so bad in the first try in the rehearsals and it kind of freaked me out. But thankfully I did much better in the second try. I am so happy that I got to be an AMV judge. We had 63 wonderful entries. I will link them down below, as many as I can find, and I hope the playlist will be ready by the time I upload this video. You need to check out the 21 that got into finals, and if you didn't get into finals, I am so sorry. It doesn't mean that your video wasn't good enough, it just means that we didn't have enough space. I absolutely loved working with my fellow judges. I know that people always say that oh, it was such an honor, but it really was. I really enjoyed it. The videos were amazing and I enjoyed discussing them with my fellow judges and watching them. And I had watched all of these videos several times, and as I was at the rehearsals and we were watching this sort of mini clip that comes on when it's time to vote, I caught myself thinking, oh, I can't wait to see all of those again. That's how good these videos were. So, after the AMV rehearsals, the convention was now open and I went to the big main sales area. There was this shop that sold some clothes that I filmed a little bit at. And of course, talking to myself, talking to myself is one of my favorite Finnish brands, jewelry brands. They had this cookie necklace with raspberries that I was really tempted by, but I have so much of their stuff. I took all of my self-restraint and didn't buy it, and maybe that's the only thing I regret not buying a little bit. Then I went outside to film a little bit of B-roll and to wait for the Danmei meet. And if you can spot a Winx cosplayer in this video, then so did I. I spotted them while I was filming. So I met this Musa cosplayer. On Saturday I was cosplaying as Wei Wuxian because the Danmei meet was then. So I wasn't dressed as Bloom, but I was still happy to see another Winx cosplayer. The Danmei meet was great as usual, very fun. And afterwards there was a doll meet where some people also sold their own made outfits and their little doll accessories, so I filmed a little bit there as well. Then I decided to go to the artist alley outside. There was this big artist trail, a big tent outside, and you had to line up and then you could get inside and see all the artists there. The outside area again was completely free, and everything that happened on this Tracon live stage was also free to see to everyone. So I stood in that line for maybe about 40 minutes. It was a lot longer than it seemed. At first I was like, oh, it's not that long. But then I realized it makes like several turns and goes behind the tent. And eventually I got in, but it was still quite crowded. Like there was loads of space in the middle of the tent. But next to the sales tables, it was still really hard to get close. There was one of my favorite artists who does Winx stickers, and I did consider getting them, but I found that I already have some of their stickers and there were just too many people, so I decided to go outside. I used one of my meal tickets that I got with my merch. I got free meal tickets to have some Japanese curry in one of the places that catered to the staff as well, and it was delicious. Then I took a little bit of time to see the cosplay competition outside on the main stage. This is the only cosplay competition that I did see, by the way, and then it was time to go to the AMV competition. This was the final, this was the real thing, and I didn't mess up on stage. I was pretty nervous, not super nervous, but I was still a little bit nervous, but I didn't mess up. Super happy again to work with all of my fellow judges. They were all so professional. They started with this AMV that had a live choir singing the song. I have never seen anything like that. It was amazing, I mean. Amazing. And another amazing thing, for the halfway point, they had made a video with an original song that was super funny about making AMV collabs with people. Super funny, super relatable, I imagine, for people. I don't think I've done an AMV collab, but it felt super relatable, super well written, super well sung. I was just so in awe. I'm an AMV manager at an Estonian convention currently, and I just felt like the bar is so ridiculously high. Tracon's AMV bar, it's so ridiculously high. I loved the original song that they had created, and I was so impressed by it. Afterwards, I went to the upstairs artist alley where I hadn't been before, and I actually did buy some stuff from the artists there. I bought some Wei Wuxian and Lan Wenji magnetic bookmarks that I'll show you in a bit. And I also wanted to listen to a lecture. I went and listened to a lecture about Ghost in the Shell and about the philosophy behind soul and body and what it means to be human in Ghost in the Shell. Here you can see the stuff I bought. These two are Wei Wuxian and Lan Wenji bookmarks. There was this one cute chibi sticker that I got from the artist tent, and I also got this Wei Wuxian card from the artist tent outside. On Sunday, I decided that I wanted to check out the flea market again. I wanted to check out if there was a big line or not, and there wasn't. It was actually super easy to get in. So I would actually suggest that you visit the flea market on Sunday, because it was much easier to get in and I didn't have to wait, and there was still loads of fun stuff, and there was loads of new stuff like this angelic pretty dress that was only 70 euros, and I was actually kind of tempted by. I also found this chatta, this pixie chatta, and she was only €1, and I was so happy that I hadn't gotten the more expensive pixies the other day, and I got her. Then I went to listen to some lectures. I listened to a lecture about money games. I assumed that this would be more about like gacha games, but the part of it that I listened was more about actual like gambling games, like almost casino-like online games, like online casino games. I didn't listen to it all the way, not because it was boring, but because I wanted to listen to another lecture that was in the next hall more. And this was about the history of BL mangas since the 90s, and it was super interesting. I don't know a ton about BL mangas, pretty much never read any, but I was very interested in the history of the genre and how it has developed and how it has changed over the decades. And there were some recommendations and examples as well, and I did see some that I would actually be interested in reading. Overall, a very interesting lecture. I felt like I learned a lot and I enjoyed it a great deal, a great lecture. Then I just wanted to hang out with some of my friends. I had hung out with the AMV manager earlier in the morning. I wanted to thank them again for giving me the chance to be an AMV judge, because I feel like I hadn't expressed that loudly enough the previous day. And then I wanted to hang out with my friends because I knew one of them was cosplaying Dark Bloom again and that her friend was also cosplaying Stella. So we took pictures together as two Blooms and Stella, and here are the pictures. And that was the end of my Tracon. I had to go and catch my train. As always, I always really recommend Tracon. I think it's a great convention. I always feel like I experience something new, and it always feels like a new experience that makes me grow as a person, I feel even. So I really recommend visiting Tracon if you can. And if you have enjoyed this video, then make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and comment down below if you were at the event. And I'll see you in my next video, which will be covering the Winx Club reboot. Bye!